food employees. What's one item on your respective chain's menu that you will absolutely not eat under any circumstances? Former BK employee of 6 years here. The food was actually good if it was fresh. The issue is the staff/management. Sauce bottles would never get completely emptied and cleaned. People wouldn't change their gloves between doing different tasks or would be texting with those gloves then make your food. Also, the items that go into making your food, lettuce, cheese, etc., was all tracked via time stickers. Think a little clock. So if you brought out new cheese, the rules were it could only be left at room temperature for 4 hours. If you brought it out at 12, you'd mark the sticker for 4 p.m. At that point, you should have thrown it away. Well, that never happened. Everything got stickers replaced to make sure they were always good in case of surprise inspections. Whenever I trained people, I gave a few rules to live by. 1. If it's dirty, clean it. 2. If it's out of place, organize it. 3. If you wouldn't eat it, don't serve it. From a customer perspective, always order your food with a slight modification, like mayo. This will ensure your food is made fresh instead of you getting one that has been made previously to speed things up. However, can't guarantee the food it's being made with is fresh. Used to work at a small fast food place, and during training, my manager got mad at me for throwing out slimy corn. She showed me how she would just rinse the slime off in the sink and put it back. I find corn suspicious now. I worked at a pizza place that was infested with roaches, especially in the back room where we would leave the pizza dough out to sit. We would also find roaches in the ice maker, in the mechanical parts, as well as the ice itself. If a restaurant has roaches, nothing is safe. My bro managed a Wiener Schnitzel. Unbelievably, they catered lunch for a few local high schools, as did Amici's Pizza. The chili wasn't up to the school standard and they had to add more meat to it in order to pass LAUSD code. Of course, they used old burgers, dogs, and expired ground beef from the freezer. Bro bluntly told me, never eat our chili. Dairy Queen Strawberry Cheesecake Blizzard. When the cheesecake gets low, you're supposed to fill it up a certain way where the new cheesecake goes on bottom and what's left of the old stuff is put on top to ensure it's used first and it always stays fresh. Well, let me tell you that it is like a brick. After it's been in the container long enough, you constantly take it out and put it back so it's always thawing and refreezing and essentially freezing together. This is why absolutely no one rotates the cheesecake. I once dropped the cheesecake container onto the tile and the chunk in bottom cracked in half and came out. It had become almost like 98% mold. We've been using it without rotating it for months. I work at McDonald's. Nothing in my store is actually gross. We are really clean and follow procedures, but I wouldn't have a fillet of fish with the sauce because the sauce makes a disgusting sound coming out of the sauce gun. I'm not gonna lie, my McDonald's was really fucking clean and we sold everything fast enough to where nothing looked repulsive to eat, especially when we went to the fresh quarter pounders and fresh chicken. I worked at Wendy's. Nobody ever orders the home-style chicken, so if you do, it's probably been sitting in a warmer tray for an hour or two since we just can't afford to throw out the old ones all the time, but have to keep some on hand. It will probably be hard and dry, and we probably won't give you a refund. I worked at a Subway in my senior year of high school. What disturbed me was how the tuna came packaged in a big metallic bag to keep it fresh, I guess. Then when we had to take it out, it would make this squelching noise. And because I made so many subs, completely put me off from eating those sandwiches ever again. I worked at a fast casual Baja-style Mexican grill place that is a smaller competitor to Chipotle. I'm the lead cook and make every protein, sauce, bean, and hot item in the house with fresh ingredients. That being said, our most popular protein is our sweet pork. For a single batch of pork, 60 pounds, I will use close to 10 pounds of straight white sugar, 3 gallons of Coke, and 3 pounds of butter. This shit tastes like f***ing candy and is crazy addictive. There are folks who come in every day and get double meat, 8 ounces, slather it in queso, and get shredded cheese on top. I'm pretty damn sure I am contributing to their eventual death by cardiac arrest. I currently manage a red-colored fast food place. The only item that I will not eat on the menu is the breakfast burrito. Everything else is cooked fresh in the store except for that item. Other people are claiming other items are bad due to poor waste control practices, but I always tell my employees, if you wouldn't pay for it, do not serve it. Emphasis on the pay for it. People pay a premium for food compared to arch-based or crown-based places, so they better be getting quality food. I would rather someone wait 1 to 2 minutes extra for fresh food than serve substandard products. I worked at Wendy's in high school. For me, that item is the chili. Whenever a burger is cooked, it is only considered good for a certain amount of time. So many minutes after cooking and the burger didn't get used, it would be thrown into a bucket next to the grill. At the end of each shift, the person dumps all the old burgers into a larger bucket of old burgers, which may or may not be covered. They also may be from days prior. Overnight they chill, the grease congeals, and the meat turns pretty gray and weird. This meat may not be frozen, but it is still pretty hard to break up, so the person making chili dumps it in the big colander, runs hot water over it, and mashes it into tiny pieces again. Now the soggy, grayish, lukewarm day-old burger meat is ready to be used in the chili. Anything made with the roast beef at Arby's, it's not a real beef roast. Instead, it's a compressed block of beef scraps. It comes in a bag filled with beef broth, and you just warm the entire thing in the oven for a few hours. And once the compressed beef block is heated, you put it on the slicer and leave it under a heat lamp for hours to slowly desiccate. Edit. Man, this brought back some bad memories. You also should avoid the breaded chicken patties. They've probably been hanging out in the warmer for a while, and the bacon is hit or miss depending how long it's been since they microwaved a new batch. If it's been sitting for a bit, it'll be limp and chewy. Had a job with AMC Theaters. I wouldn't recommend buying anything other than popcorn and drink. The fried food is really something else. One, it comes shipped from a third party, so it's not even kind of fresh. The oil is so gross, you're basically ordering something that went through a machine built in the 70s that has accumulated layers and layers of oil residue. You can clean it a little bit, but you're never going back to how it first looked. Every day there's like a new layer of oil ice, and the corners of the steel plates are where they really get stuck. I've worked other jobs as a fry cook before too, making fresh chicken tenders and such every day at a deli. At the deli, we clean the fryers every night with huge hoses. AMC, we clean the fryer once a week by a person making minimum wage and doesn't exactly have any motivation to do a pristine job. Over a decade ago, I worked at Little Caesars. The thing I refuse to eat, I eat there super rarely anyway, is the crazy bread. At our store, and the other I worked at temporarily, we used a paintbrush to spread the garlic butter. The thing was that the paintbrush was never fully clean, so garlic butter from the previous days would still be on the brush. I'd never seen the brush replaced in my nearly 2 years working there. It's hardly surprising considering after we were robbed, they still had to put up security cameras in the 3 months following. At that point, I decided to quit. I never drink anything from a tap or fountain, anywhere. Those things are always nasty, and I say that as someone who has had a career in waste disposal. In the first bar I worked, I took it upon my young dumbass to deep clean the beer taps. Not only have I never seen that quantity of black mold anywhere else, on my next shift, 5 people, apparently regulars, chewed me out because the beer tasted wrong and it was obviously my fault. They weren't wrong, but it stung, especially since I couldn't tell them why. I work at a coffee chain shop where we make our own in-house chocolate sauce. Sounds nice, but it starts to mold within a few days. That shouldn't be a problem since we go through chocolate and make more daily. However, the chocolate sauce container only gets cleaned out properly if we run out during slow times. Otherwise, we just dump fresh chocolate sauce on top and get right back to dealing with the rush. The white mocha and caramel sauces are manufactured and therefore have a long shelf life. I stick with those. I worked at a Burger King for like 2 months. The main thing that was nasty was the big fish sandwich for a few reasons. One, the thing just smelled foul. It was a frozen patty of fish that we dunked in the fryer for like 4 minutes in an attempt to not vomit when I pulled it out because of the smell. It just smelled like bad. 2, the tartar sauce. The tartar sauce sat in a container that was cooled by the larger tray it was in. This didn't really cool it though, so it was usually room temperature. Since few people order the tartar sauce, the top layer would quickly turn this greenish brown color, which doesn't sound that gross, but it would turn fast. 3rd, the fish patties tended to sit in the warmer for pretty much forever. No one really tended to order the big fish, but people who did almost always ordered at least 2. I don't know if they thought this meant they would get fresh ones or what, but in reality they were getting big fish patties that sat in the warmer tray, which never seemed to be fully cleaned and unslimed for hours, usually past their toss time since the managers were kind of cheap. So yeah, I do not recommend the big fish. My best friend worked at a very popular sandwich fast food chain. Some of the tomatoes had mold on them, so she went to throw them out. Her manager scolded her and told her if anything grows mold, you cut the mold off and still serve it so they don't waste food. Never ate at that chain again. Years ago, I worked at a country club in Arizona. It was an old one and the kitchen was infested with roaches. We made the salads for a table from a salad bar and I remember flicking roaches off the plates. So freaking gross. I was very young at the time and didn't realize exactly how unsanitary that was. Imagine paying country club dues and having a kitchen infested with roaches and no idea. If people saw and felt the popcorn butter at AMC when I worked there, you wouldn't touch that whole stand, much less put that stuff in your body. To replace the butter, we get this bag of yellow liquid that glows pink in the light to screw into the nozzle at the bottom. And somehow, which I never understand, is that touching the outside of the plastic bag makes my hands super greasy. And when I say greasy, I have to scrub with a sponge for minutes to get most of it off. And there's always some residue that remains. I can only imagine what that is doing to the arteries of the people pumping that shit all over their food. I worked at KFC when I was in high school, and to this day I remind people to never get the chicken pot pie. The chicken used for this is old chicken that hasn't been bought throughout the day. For example, a cook will make the chicken an opening, and once time passes, no one buys it, they dump it in a container, freeze it, and then shred it up for pot pies months later. No one would know this since it's sauced up in a pie.